You know, back in the first blogger. I know. Well, back then. Thanks again. You too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please settle down for this next special presentation. From Andy Jerry Cohen, who suggested, no, Jerry, I'm just saying, you suggested Sharon Home. You're suggesting, right? So this next presentation is about the mothers who are Tiananmen. We've just heard about the survivors, but we have not heard anything about the families of those who perished that day. Sharon Hong is Executive Director of Human Rights in China. And so we're going to show a little video, are we, Chad?
This is for slides. Yeah, we'll start with slides, okay. And then we'll show a short video.
Sharon Hong. Okay.
Well, I need you to see something.
Okay, no, just leave.
I don't know. I think they could see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that good? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, and I want to especially thank Bill and OPC for including and giving us a little bit of space to share the work of the Tiananmen mothers. And thank Ignatius for the shout out earlier in the morning and referencing it. Thank you. And I also want to thank the journalists for sharing those very vivid memories, and not only memories, but for really over the decades. Many of you continue to cover China stories and have been concerned and work on really important projects. It's a tremendous honor to be here with many of my friends and colleagues and comrades. In particular, we've been working very closely with our Tibetan and Uyghur friends, who so we're very happy that you're here too. And so, and I also want to thank Bill that I'm so happy that our Hong Kong group is here, because every year since 1989, Hong Kong is the only city in China that has over 100,000 people in Victoria Park. And I remember when I was leading our hotel one year and I was heading out to Victoria Park, my team and I were carrying all our materials, and the concierge said, I said, oh, you can't come, but don't you know what he's going to work. And he said, he says, please represent our heart and bring all of our hearts to Victoria Park. And that was all the hotel workers. So I think Hong Kong is a very special place. And as a Hong Konger, I have my heart there too. So this is a time for truth, and an inconvenient truth, apparently. And we want to start. So in 1989, since then, when we fast forward, we're really since then at a really critical juncture. And I think that's been referenced by everyone. It's a critical juncture for China. It's a critical juncture for the party, notwithstanding how it's presenting itself as somewhat more powerful. And it's a critical juncture for the world. And what we see then and now, and has been referenced already many times, that the need for the truth and for justice has not diminished. It actually has been compounded. It's been made worse by the ongoing complicities and support of the international community, by governments who are engaging business as usual, and I think, frankly, by the business community who can't apologize fast enough. So China's impunity is not only we have a responsibility to address it 30 years on, it's also what is enabling what the ongoing violations are. And under Xi Jinping, who has been leading really a draconian domestic repression and is leading the attack on international standards and offering alternative Chinese models, explicitly offering human rights with Chinese characteristics, a Chinese version of democracy, because clearly, and they point to the U.S. as Exhibit A, it doesn't work. So we have Chinese model, and we also have now Chinese model of development. So everyone who's been referencing lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty, that is an unsustainable Chinese model, because China explicitly rejects rights in terms of development. So that's what's happening internationally. And invoking terrorism to round up now something between 1 million and 1.5 million ethnic Uyghur Muslims and Cossacks and other ethnic groups. We're seeing this, somewhat thank you to Google. In Hong Kong, we're really seeing a complete undermining of the independent rule of law and undermining of promises that were made to the international community and to the Hong Kong people that our way of life would be preserved for 50 years. So we're seeing this trampling on of rights, and this is a direct result of 30 years of ongoing impunity by the Chinese government. This is Ding Laoshi, Ding Zilin, who is a professor, now retired at Renmin Daxue, at the People's University. Her son was killed in the square. He was a student at People's, and he's in the middle between his mother and father, Professor Jiang and also Professor Ding. And in 1990, Professor Ding Zilin, together with two other grieving mothers, You Weijie and Zhang Xianlin, started a group, the Tiananmen Mothers. And there's really, You Weijie, one of the mothers, actually left a note on the grave of the son's grave of Zhang Xianlin. And the note was, "We share your fate." And so, for now, since then, we've had the Tiananmen Mothers continue year after year. They're documenting, they're recording events. They've collected so far, documenting 202 victims. They're collecting the videos, they're making their own videos, they're interviewing each other, they've documented that, and they have relentlessly, every single year, written open letters and have been met with resounding silence. And their demands are the same every year: truth, accountability, an apology, and compensation. This year, their letter is an incredibly, especially powerful one, which addresses almost every issue you have raised today and we have talked about too. And we have some copies for those of you who would like that. So Chinese people are speaking out inside China. These survivors and family members of those killed are speaking out. They're paying a very heavy price. And throughout all these years, they have been censored. They have been sent away from their homes on the anniversary of June 4th. They've been threatened, they've been harassed, they've been denied the right to mourn. When they go to the cemeteries, they've sometimes been denied even the right to go to the graves of their family members. So today, there are, of the original group, there were 172, and today there's 127 living and 55 deceased. So of those who were deceased, because they specifically requested that every single year those letters, you will see in the letter this year again, all of those deceased are listed in the letter, because they said that the time I met Ding Zilin in her apartment in Beijing, I remember she was standing before the portrait of her son, and a whole wall where photographs of friends from around the world, letters of support, solidarity are on the wall. It's her shrine. And she said to me, as long as I have a single breath in my body, to the end, for my son's memory and my promise, I'm going to fight for justice and the truth. This is a project we will be launching next week. My colleague Li Ling is leading that effort. This is called The Unforgotten. And what we're doing is honoring the victims, and in the face of the amnesia, the censorship about talking and what happened and these lives lost, we will be launching next week with 30 profiles. These have been documented and compiled by the Tiananmen Mothers and our working with them. By June 4th, we hope we'll have 60. So every profile will look something with different materials. They will tell the story of how this person lived, how this person died, and any materials that we've been able to collect from the families will also be there linked with other materials. And these are collectively the group, these are students, they're workers, they're truck drivers, cooks, chefs, and you will see collectively, they were shot in the back, they were run over by tanks, they were stabbed by the bayonets in the front of them. And so all of these stories, we try to work with the Tiananmen mothers because every life matters. Every single life matters. In the 20th anniversary, we produced a documentary, and that came from almost 40 hours of footage that the Tiananmen mothers themselves shot. They said that Western media were grateful they're telling our stories, we're grateful for the films, we want to tell our own stories. So they shot almost 40 hours of footage, and they asked Jilin Wei, the Hong Kong Alliance, to produce the Chinese version, which is very long. And then we said we couldn't do that for a Western audience. We didn't think they would sit for 30 hours. So we said we will do a 22-minute version, which we did. And so I hope that Ding Lao Shi and them, they were not happy that it was only 22 minutes, but I think they were very happy since then because we have shown it to the European Parliament, we've shown it at the UN, we've shown it at the Hong Kong Foreign Correspondents Club. We've used it to help amplify their stories. And I thought it would be good in my time that we wanted to show you one of the stories. And this is a story of Lo Wei. Chad, can you show it? Yeah, thanks.
Video?
Yeah.
Hold, please.
We've lost the sound.
Chad is our technical wizard here today. He's keeping everything moving.
这一天晚上，我1个小时起来看一次，看他的传播说的被人吃空了，我就咚跑出去啊，跑出去看那个电线杆啊，贴了好多这个通知，小通知啊，惨。昨天晚上宣我的医院死多少人，什么医院死多少人，那么我就知道，哎呦，这个事情可能不好，这个到我们真没看到。解放军就是这么少的进城，这么倒下来了，那个被垮的，结果这里有一个什么？还有我们去的时候啊，他这个东西这么捆的，那个船上呢，就人里的血了、水了、尿了，全在尸体当中。我说这怎么行啊？这个样子，这个护士给他换，当然也进去大概也不止他一个了，有几个来不及，别的病人也多，就那么惨。我就到他的儿子的罗威，我说你怎么了？他是掉了一滴眼泪，他说眼睛带进了，这一滴眼泪啊，像个绿豆那么大。当然我不知道他哭了，我以为他是 我以为他是流汗，但是孩子怎么这么热啊？我要给他擦擦汗。6的早上8点就去世，没法治就去世。我晚上天天都有个罗威在这里晃，我晚上做梦呀，他站在我睡得在。我说罗威，你搬的房子怎么样？我还记得他大幸福。哎，他还真的，我说太小了，我还要回来。哎呦，我一醒过来做了个梦。
Thank you.
So I want to invite all the journalists and folks to support the launch. The whole documentary, the 22 minutes, is on our website. Together with, they continued in the last 10 years, traveling literally on boats and carts. And they went to very, very like very rural areas, and they collected more videos and they did more interviews. This is what they did. And we have them on our website. Carol Bogart said this morning something that just stuck with me. And she said, when we look ahead, it's going to be this force between the power of the numbers in the streets. And you said it's the strength of the streets versus this power, this political power. But I think what the Tiananmen mothers remind us, it's the power of the human spirit, and that's going to be stronger. I really do think it's going to be, whether it's one person in the street or 127, family members who haven't given up after 30 years. I think this human spirit is going to really, in the long run, and Wu'er Kaixi, I don't think it will take 100 years.
Thank you. So Sheryl WuDunn is here, and she's a moderator of the next panel. This is Jerry and Wu'er Kaixi. Teng Biao, is he here? Yes. And Andy Nate. You put in the middle, or at the end, as your choice.